You wouldn't be in debt if getting out of debt was just a math problem. You already know you should spend less than you make, right? You pay more and avoid interest when you don't pay off your debts. But knowing this hasn't fixed the problem, because debt isn't a numbers problem. It's a human problem, a human psychology problem. Most debt advice starts with spreadsheets, formulas, interest rates. But debt doesn't start at a spreadsheet. It starts in stress, when you're overwhelmed, when you're in survival mode, when your nervous system is fried. Logic doesn't win and relief does. That's why smart people stay stuck in debt. So before we talk about the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche, tools to help you actually get out of debt, we need to talk about the problem, because that's a symptom. That's not the actual problem. And human psychology, humans actually change. Why momentum matters more than the math at the beginning, and how to choose the strategy you actually can stick with, and not just one that just looks good on paper. Because the fastest way out of debt isn't the most mathematical, efficient plan. It's the plan that you don't quit. Let me say this clearly. Here's the real problem. The reason you are in debt is not because you're bad with math. You don't need another calculator to tell you that interest is expensive. We all know that, right? We go to 7th grade at school and we can figure out interest rates. That's not the problem. The real problem is you're trying to solve a human psychology problem, a human behavior problem, with a math problem. You're trying to solve the wrong problem with the wrong solution. That doesn't come from ignorance. It comes from pressure to survive, pressure to keep living, pressure to keep up with the Joneses and feel normal, pressure to get that new thing that everyone else has got. And under pressure, humans don't optimize. They cope. We swipe. We delay. We promise next month it'll be better. I'll get better. But because we're not because we're stupid, but because we're human, right? Just acknowledge what we are. And the trap that we all fall into is that we'll pay it later. That's future Simon's problem, right? It assumes that you're calm, you're consistent, and disciplined. But debt puts you in the opposite state: overwhelmed, anxious, reactive. And that's why most people don't fail their debt plan. They just quit it. They just give up, because the plan has never addressed the person, the problem. Before we fix the numbers, before we even look at the numbers, you need to get the human being under control, right? And that's the shift. That's the real problem, is our human psychology. And once you understand that, everything about debt can change. Debt doesn't just affect your bank account. It affects your nervous system. It affects your stress. It affects the way you live. Because think about how close money is close to air, right? When you don't have any, you feel like you can't breathe. When money is tight, your body goes into survival mode. And survival mode does 3 dangerous things. Number 1, stress shrinks your decision making. When you're under financial pressure, your brain prioritizes short-term relief over long-term strategy. That's not weakness, that's biology, that's survival, right? Fight or flight. A stressed brain doesn't ask, what's the smartest move over the next 5 years? It asks, how do I get through this week, this day, this moment to survive? And that's why people make quick decisions that aren't optimal. They can't optimize when they're feeling overwhelmed. Number 2, debt creates a dopamine trap. Many people didn't fall into debt because they love spending. They fell into debt because spending brought relief. Stress, spend, relief, guilt, stress, spend, relief, guilt, stress, spend, relief, guilt. You see the cycle? And math doesn't break that loop. Momentum does. Debt is an emotional thing before it's a financial thing. Until you change your emotional cycle and get your psyche under control, the numbers won't stick. Number 3 is shame destroys consistency. This one matters more than people realize. Shame makes people hide. Nothing to hide about. Get it out of the open. Let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. They avoid checking balances. They skip repayments. They think, if I don't look at that bank balance, if I don't look at that bill, it'll be fine. and they stop opening things, opening statements, opening bills, not because they don't care, but they want to avoid it. Avoidance, avoid the pain, avoid the shame, avoid the guilt. Consistency beats perfection every day of the week, and shame kills consistency. So until the human is regulated, doesn't matter what the math is, right? You need to get your psyche under control. That's why so many perfect plans fail. The spreadsheet looks good, it works on numbers, right? But it just doesn't work because you haven't got your behavior, you haven't changed your behaviors. And this is where the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche really talk about it. So let's have a look at these two techniques in particular, and which one I think is going to help you. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but the debt snowball. Oh, let's look at the avalanche first. Avalanche. So the debt avalanche is you list your debts. You just list them. So number 1, number 2, so whatever it is, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just list them, the biggest. This one's the biggest here, to the smallest. All right. Excluding your home loan, you just list your debts biggest to smallest. That's not hard to do. And then literally, you just tackle this top one first. You pay minimum repayments on every single one. And then you just say, well, I'm paying the most interest on this one, and I'll just attack it. Once it's wiped out, once this is wiped out, right, you take that amount of that, whatever you're paying, and you just put it on the next one. And then once this is wiped out, you take these two combos and you put it on the next one. And what happens is, over time, it destroys your debt, right? Now, this one makes sense financially because you think, well, this one is the biggest, number 1 is the biggest, and I want to pay the least amount of interest. But we've already talked about that it's not an interest problem, it's not a maths problem, this is a behavioural problem. And the challenge with this one, you can do either, but my recommendation, the challenge with this one is because this one's the biggest, it takes the longest to pay off, and you lose momentum. You feel like you're not winning. So the debt snowball is it's pretty much the opposite. So this is the snowball. Right? You list your debts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you list them, and you go smallest to biggest or largest, right? And you pay minimum on all of them, minimum repayment, and then you attack this first one. So let's say this one's $1,000, right? That's a dollar sign, and this one down here is 50,000, right? You attack this little one first. You get it, pay minimum repayments on all of them, and you get this one under control. Boom! Once it's gone, then you actually feel a win because this is the smallest one. Because we already decided it's not a math problem, right? We already ruled that out. And this is a human psychology problem. This is a behavioral problem. So if you go, yes, this one only took me like 3 months to wipe out, right? Because I got all the minimum repayments on all of them, got all them sorted, and then I go on to the next one. Oh, boom! This is another 2 months, and this one's out. So I'm already 1, 2. I'm down. These ones are crossed out. And then you pay. Just keep that same amount, and you go to number 3, and you go boom, and then you get a bit of it. That's why it's called a snowball, because you get a bit of momentum, get a bit of a win behind you. So I really like this one because it's a human psychology one, and this is a big argument on the internet: the snowball versus the avalanche. And I really like the debt snowball the best. The debt avalanche wins on paper because you're getting rid of the biggest one first, right? On paper, but we already know this isn't a math problem. The other people talk about debt consolidation, and they go, oh well, let's get a new finance company. Let's list all our debts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll collect them all and we'll put them onto another financing company, and they'll give us a great interest rate. The problem with this one, and the reason why I don't like this one, is because you feel like you've done something. You feel like you've gone, oh look, I've got a great interest rate now. I haven't got 5 debts anymore. I've only got one debt, one giant debt, and it's got a great interest rate. Woohoo, I've done something. But you haven't really done something. All you've done is transferred it and got a better interest rate. We already talked about it isn't a math problem. And this, you feel on the inside, you feel like, oh great, I've achieved something. I've ticked the box. Woohoo. But you haven't actually changed any behavior. And probably within a month or maybe 2 months or 6 months, you're back spending again, and you've got number 2 loan and number 3 loan, right? So that is the challenge. So I would really avoid this one because, yeah, it's great on paper. We're saving the most amount of money, but you haven't done anything. You haven't changed your psyche. You haven't changed your human behavior. So that's the challenge with this one. So I would avoid that one, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's the debt avalanche versus the debt snowball. And the really thing, my preference would be the debt snowball. It gives you the most momentum. Pay off the smallest one, just smash that smallest one, make minimum payments on all of them, smash that smallest one, then put that payment onto the next one, smash the next one. It's really powerful, and it really gets you going. It creates quick wins, gives you that dopamine hit. Yes, I've achieved something, I've won something, I've smashed off one, boom, I'm on the next one. And it really, really gives you momentum. So Snowball isn't a financial strategy, it's a psychology strategy, and it's designed to stabilize the human brain. Each strategy has its pros and cons, right? If you're calm, disciplined, and already consistent, Avalanche may be your best move to make the numbers work. But if debt feels heavy, stressful, or overwhelming, Snowball will get you there the fastest, and it will give you small wins that help you get to the next win, because you won't quit. You'll keep going. So once momentum is established, then the math doesn't matter anymore, right? Because you'll be able to keep going. So I want to give you a principle you can use for more than just your debt, because once you see this, once you stop fighting yourself, you'll start to see great goals. So here it is: stability, then momentum, then optimization. So that's the order real change happens. You have to get stability, then you get some momentum, and then you get optimizing, right? Not just with money, with anything that's hard. Stability, calm the human, right? Get calm. Before you try to be efficient, you have to feel safe. Stability means bills are covered, you know what's coming, you're not afraid to check your bank account or that bill that comes in the mail. This is where the snowball shines. It reduces stress before it reduces your interest. And that's and that's not backwards, it's wise. Financially, on the spreadsheet, it looks backwards, but this is a human psychology thing. We've already talked about that. Momentum creates wins. Momentum is proof that your effort matters. One debt gone. Woohoo, I got rid of that $1,000. It's the smallest one. One payment eliminated. Woohoo, one less thing to overhang in my head. Woohoo, you get that dopamine hit. You get that psychology. I can do this. This is doable. Momentum changes your identity. You stop feeling like I'm bad with money to start thinking, hey, I've got this in control. We're going to win. We're going to get this done. And that's how you build a habit that sticks. And then you optimize. Then you can do the math. Only after stability and momentum does optimization actually work. Now you can care about the interest rate, refine your strategy, switch to Avalanche if that makes sense for you, because now you have a few wins on the board. Now you're like, how do I keep this going? Right? So try it. Most people fail because they start at step 3. They try to optimize. They think, how do I be the most optimal before they're stable? before they have momentum. And then they blame themselves for the system. It doesn't work. No, they're doing it out of order. Doing optimization is important, but you just got to do it when you're ready. And then you flow. And then when you follow this order, the result isn't just less debt, it's something more valuable, right? Stability in your mind. Let me leave this with you. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to punish yourself with progress. What you need is a system that works, something that's stable, that works with you, not against you, that works with your human psychology. Because debt didn't happen because you're irresponsible. It happened because life happened. Pressures of life happened, right? And you tried to act responsible and you responded like a human. Marketing is done to the human psyche. I think, how does the brain work? Let's market that way. So let's keep our debt in the same way. How do we use our human psyche to work for us and give us wins on the board? Stability first, then momentum, then optimization. Snowball will give you peace. Avalanche when you're ready for precision. And there's no shame with starting where you are at. The only mistake is quitting because you choose a plan that's not designed for you. So I hope this video helps you and helps you get out of debt. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Peace.